Hello everyone, welcome to today's VRCut Ready for MDM Triumph Paper Cutters Art2Finish live webinar demonstration series. Today we'll be focusing on more advanced topic of data merge, variable data, and stacking and ordering of variable data merged products, how to cut those and finish them based on the workflow of the VRCut for the Triumph Cutter. With all Art2Finish demonstrations, we start with a webinar demonstration on the computer of the VRCut software that comes included with the Triumph paper cutter line, specific models. And then we cut to a live video feed of the specific jobs that we've created, having been printed and now finished on camera using the VRCut controller software. The VRCut software comes included with a number of the Triumph MDM Triumph paper cutters, the specific light beam models, that is the Triumph 5260, the Triumph 5560, the Triumph 6660, and the Triumph 7260. This software is a two-part system that comes with a full imposition tool called VRCut Impose, as well as a controller software that hooks up directly to the cutter called VRCut Controller. The purchase price of those machines covers the purchase of the software, which is an $1,800 value, as well as 1 year of annual licensing, which is a $600 value, being a $2,400 value total that's included entirely with the purchase of those machines. It is not an optional add-on or a markup increase to the cost of the cutters. The base price of those cutters includes that $2,400 value of software. VRCut is broken up into two individual pieces of software that are usually installed on different computers. The VRCut Impose module, as I mentioned, is a full-fledged, entirely capable imposition tool with all of the technology available to it. There are no add-ons to that software. All the features come included with the base model of VRCut Impose, and is generally installed on a graphic designer's computer or someone involved in pre-pressing, creating a PDF print file from artwork and sending it over to the printer. All you need to use is an entirely integrated workflow, and it's why we call the series Art2Finish, is your one-up artwork or an artwork of the cut job that you're looking to finish on the cutter. By bringing in that artwork into the imposition tool, you create a PDF print file, which we'll do today. Then we'll send that over to the printer. We'll print that out, and then we'll walk over and switch to a live video of the VRCut controller, which is the second piece of software, and you see on the right side of the screen here. That software is installed on a laptop or a desktop with a monitor that usually is placed on the hood of the machine, anywhere that's visible to the operator as they go through the cutting process. What that does is it acts as both a guidance system and a controller. It automatically calculates the most optimal cut sequence. It automatically programs the back gauge measurements for every step in the sequence, and it visually guides the operator through the cutting process based on that sequence. It shows them how to rotate paper, when to set stacks aside, when to combine stacks later, and when to set finished product onto the pallet. As I mentioned before, this is a future session. This is a session that we've done many iterations of in the Art2Finish series and is more advanced in its nature. Previous sessions cover more introductory parts of the workflow, and I recommend watching those if you'd like a more basic overview of how the system works. Today we'll be focusing on more advanced variable data and stack ordering capabilities. The VRCut Impose software is not only an imposition tool, but it has full variable data printing, data merge capabilities. It offers the ability for users to create any job, whether those are static or change from record to record. We'll be creating a preset template postcard with addressing on the back. That's a 5x7 postcard on 12x18 paper as our first job that we'll be sending over to the printer. And we'll be creating a custom template. One of the new capabilities inside of the VRCut Impose software and the VRCut controller is to create custom templates, any size that you like on any paper that can be fed into the machine. We'll automatically calculate the most optimal layout and send that over to the controller so that simply by scanning the barcode we place on the top of the page when you print it, prompts the entire workflow. The idea for all of the VRCut system is to increase the productivity of the office by decreasing the amount of time any job takes, whether that's a job that you do frequently or a job that you do for the very first time. Another huge advantage of using the VRCut software, as we'll see today, is that it really opens up new opportunities for users to be able to effectively utilize the machine without any risk of making mistakes or minimalizing the mistake-making process. With this software, people who have zero to very little experience using cutters can easily pick it up and start cutting a job right out of the box. The operator of the machine itself is really doing nothing more than scanning a barcode and looking at the screen controller to see exactly how to feed the paper in correctly, how to rotate paper, and how to go through the entire cut sequence, even if it's a job that has never been done on the cutter before. All the programming happens at the controller itself. The controller also allows for an unlimited number of jobs to be programmed. There is absolutely no limit. It can store thousands and thousands of jobs with a scan of a barcode. It's all kept within the controller computer attached directly to these very special VRCut Ready Triumph cutters. I'm now going to hop into the VRCut Imposition tool. One license comes included with the purchase of the machine, and like I mentioned before, is generally installed on the graphic designer's computer or someone who's going to be sending these files over to the printer when they're print ready. To create a job, you simply select New Job, and in doing that, we're presented with our library here. We're also presented with a preview window. We can find a number of templates pre-created for us. These are what we call preset templates, and there's over 100 of them based on popular US-based paper sizes and popular cut sizes. You can always create and add to that library, which any template you create will be added to the bottom of the list. Any template, preset, or custom can be filtered by paper size to pare down the list to the size of paper you're printing on, and can be filtered by keyword. For today's first job, we're going to be doing a preset template that's on 5x7 paper. I filtered down to 12x18 because we're printing on that, and we're going to cut down to 5x7. And so now when I select the project, I get a preview of what that's going to look like when it's multi-up imposed. This is another new feature. Part of that licensing cost that is covered in the first year is not only for technical support and introductory training and implementation support, but it's also for ongoing enhancements and development. We're constantly developing and offering updates, usually about 3 to 4 times a year. This recent feature is, I think in the 2020 spring update, we added this preview feature, really helpful for our customers. I'm going to select the duplex job. I'm going to turn bleed on. As I do that, you see the pink bleed lines appear on the page. Now I can change the rotation and orientation of my artwork, but the artwork I'm bringing in is actually the default landscape, so I'll leave it as landscape and I won't have to change it. If I did, though, this is not going to affect the cutting at all, but it's simply going to make it easier to bring in artwork so I don't have to rotate it later if my artwork happened to be portrait in this case. Now we're in the project to create a PDF print file. You'll see that our software generally starts by default in the one-up view. We have a one-up view of the front side, and we are on the front side tab. Because this is a duplex job, we have a second tab for the back side. And I can bring in artwork. When I'm working in static artwork like I am in this project, I can bring in an artwork file for the front, and I can click on the backside tab, and I can bring in an artwork file for the back. Most of the time, though, if you're working in PDF files, people are bringing in a 2-page PDF for the first page on the front, second page in the back, and that's what I'll be doing today by selecting Import Image. Whenever you're working with static artwork, that is, you're cutting the same image multiple times on the page for the front side and the back side, you'll be using Image button. I'm going to select that now. I'm going to bring in my artwork, and you'll see that it asks me to put the second page on the back, which I will do, say yes to. I now have artwork on the front side and the back side. If I go to the preview, I can see that 4-up. Very quickly, I want to zoom in on my preview. Another assurance capability that we offer to make sure that the operator of the machine is not making any mistakes and has another check is these numbers that we automatically place in the margin. These numbers and arrows line up exactly to where the cut will be occurring, where the laser points to the cut line, and is referenceable based on the number that's shown on the screen at that given step. So if you're making cut number 4, you could always be sure that you're making the right cut because the laser is now pointing to this 4 with an arrow at the same time. Those are automatically placed in the margins for you. Those are not anything that you need to toggle yourself. If I was just creating a static job, which is what many customers are doing, I will create my PDF right now and I would send it to the printer and I'd be done. In this case, though, we will be doing a step further. That's what we did in a previous Art2Finish session, but today we're going to be bringing in data to create a variable data job. This is a MailMerge job, addressing and barcoding. I'm going to select recipient list. I'm going to bring in my data file. We accept any data file that's in a .csv, comma separated value, Excel file format. I'm going to press that. I'm going to bring that in. And now you see that my data and all the fields in that data file are on the right side of the screen. You can expand this window if you'd like. I'll be placing an individual field on the front side here. There's multiple ways to bring in data, but I think the easiest way is to highlight the field, especially when you're doing an individual field, and drag it over to the page. This is an individual data field that will be merged when we create the PDF for every record. I'm going to actually change this to be bigger using the Format Text Font menu. I could change the fonts if I liked, or the color if I'd liked, and I can also move this around to wherever exactly I want it to go. To the back side, we're going to be doing a group of data fields. To do that, I'm going to select my drawing tool, the T here, and I'm going to draw a box on the screen. Now I can put multiple data fields together, and I can use static information like line breaks, punctuation, and spaces in between and in collaboration with my data. So now I'll do address. I'm going to do city, space, state, space, zip. You'll see when I do it inside the text box that it's actually pulling in our variable data nomenclature, which is $, field name, period. You can free type this if you want, but I find it much easier to open a data text box and just drag the fields into the window without having to free type it yourself. When I click away, you can see that I now have all my data for the first record displayed as a preview. I can now select this, increase the space of the text box, and change the font size if I like to fit within the formatting of the page. I'm also going to bring in another variable number here so we can really match that up when we create this as part of the finishing process. I just want to use this for display purposes. And finally, we're going to create an intelligent mail barcode. This software has a number of one-dimensional barcode fonts already included with the software when you install it, as well as two-dimensional barcodes that it creates and transforms itself. Today, we're going to be doing an intelligent mail barcode, which are very common in the United States, especially when the data has been pre-sorted and includes an IMDb code for postal subsidies and discounts. To create that, I simply draw a text box, I bring in the data field, and I close out the box, and now an IMDb code is automatically created at the bottom of the page, and I can place it exactly where it needs to be based on post office requirements. All of this being done, we've now created the variable data field mapping, and we're actually ready to create our PDF. There is only one more step that's necessary, which is to set up stack ordering. As I mentioned already with IMDb codes, ordering is extremely important, especially when you're looking to get subsidies from the post office. Customers generally pay large amounts of money for postal sorting software, postal sort and cleanse software, because they need to have these postcards delivered to the post office in a specific sort order in order to qualify for discounting. We want to make sure that whatever data you bring into the software, we finish in the exact order that it has been brought in terms of the data file. All you need to tell the software is how many pages you're cutting at a time, because of course that determines how large the stacks are and how we stack and cut these documents together. So to do that, you go to Home tab, you select multiple up settings, you'll change your ordering method from page to stack, and you'll set your stack size. In this case, we're going to be cutting 5 pages at a time, so I'll set that to 5. By doing that, that's all I need to do to make sure the front side and the back side order down the stack based on the number of pages I'll be cutting at a time. I'm going to create my PDF, and we'll see this in further detail now, and also at the end of our call, when we cut to the live video session, you'll see this even more detail how this cutting and stacking works. Because I'll be cutting 5 pages at a time, I'm going to have 4 stacks at the conclusion of this job. And I have 20 records. So I have 1, 6, 11, 16 on the first page. The second page in the stack will be the next in that numerical order, 2, 7, 12, 17, all the way down from 1 to 5, 7 to 10, etc. So we'll have multiple stacks of 5 that will be placed on top of each other, and you will then have a complete ordered postcard of 1 to 20 based on the ordering of our data. Very easy to create variable data in our software, very easy to set up variable fields onto the page and ensure that they come out in the appropriate ordering. The second job we're going to create today is a custom template. I'm going to select New Job. I can sort through my list, but I see that the job that I'm looking for is not on my list in my presets or in my custom templates, so I will be selecting the first option on the list, which is Custom Template. I'll now name my project. We're going to name this based on the specifications of the job, so it makes it easier to find next time I'm looking for it in keyword search. This job will be printed on 12 by 18 paper and will be cut down to 3.75 by 8.5 with bleed. I'll now press Next. You can see my preview window appears, and I'm going to set the specifications of the job. As I do that, the preview window will update. The first thing I'll do is set my paper size to 12 by 18. I'm going to set that to landscape, and I'm going to set my cut size to 3.75 by 8.5. And as I do that, you'll see the preview update. I now select Bleed On. And you can see now I have a 4-up job. This is a rack card we'll be creating today on 12 by 18 paper with bleed space available, automatically created for me. All I needed to do was say paper size and cut size and turn bleed on. Another nice thing about this new preview feature is if we were doing a smaller custom job, we can always change the paper size and the orientation to ensure that we're getting the most optimal number of cuts on the page with the least amount of paper waste. I love using this and getting a live preview to see which one's going to get me more waste or less waste, and then select the most optimal layout. Obviously, 13 by 19 won't get me any more rows or columns on the page, but so 12 by 18 is far more efficient. I've now saved this template. It will now, next time I need to create this job, be in my template library. I can filter by keyword search to find it, and I'll avoid having to do any of the programming that I did this first time. It asks me to create a job, which I do. And there's just one more step we need to do to ensure that this job will be ready to be cut and barcode scannable at the cutter. When you create a custom job for the first time, you must go to the Paper Cuts menu when you're ready to send it over to the cutter. When you select Paper Cuts, you're going to select Save to VRC, and this VRC file must be saved in the appropriate VRC folder that also has the controller computer has access to. All you need to do is once this VRCut file is in that folder, everything is taken care of for you. That's where all the calculations occur for the computer to know the most optimal cut sequence and exactly what barcode will be scanned to prompt the entire sequence of the VRCut controller's workflow. To make this an easily shareable process, we allow you to select the folder that you're sending this to in the Impose software, and we allow you to select the folder that the VRCut controller computer is looking for this at. That way, you can set this to a mutually accessible folder without having to go through a tedious sharing of a file process. In this case, you have multiple ways to do that. You can use a local area network folder as long as both computers are on the network. Also, in this case, what we've done is we've actually used a Dropbox cloud-based folder system. I have a Dropbox folder accessible on this computer, even though I may not be in the office at the same time as the same location as the cutter. I save this file to the Dropbox folder on my computer that I have access to from my remote working from home office, and then I will send this print file over to the to the printer, and that the VRCut controller computer also has access to that same Dropbox cloud-based network folder. And so they're pointed there, and all the sharing happens automatically, even in remote locations. We've now programmed the cutter, and we're simply ready to create our print file and send it to the printer. The second type of variable data I'd like to show you is what we call pre-merged PDFs, or variable PDF pages. This is a single PDF file that has multiple pages in it that differ from one another, and we'd like to lay out those variable pages. Common occurrences of this is if a customer provides you with PDF pages that they'd like already merged. For example, they send you a postcard of 700 pages that they've already done the merging for. Or they send you a ticket, a single PDF file of 500 pages with each ticket number already merged onto the pages. In this case, you can bring in the pages from the PDF Pages import button right here. I'm bringing in a 8-page PDF. It's going to be 4 up, front side and back side, so 2 times 4 is 8, and that's as long as those pages are ordered as front side, back side, etc., then you will be able to lay those out appropriately, even in a duplex job. I'm bringing that in now. Perfect. Once that PDF loads, I'll create my PDF, print file, and we'll send that to the printer. Now everything has been completed. We've created a 4-up custom job of rack cards. Never been cut at the cutter before, but all we did was automatically save the VRC file to the right folder. We'll now print this, send this to the printer, and we'll pick it up at the printer and cut it on the machine simply by scanning a barcode, even though we have never cut this job before. And that controller computer will take the information and automatically calculate the most optimal cut sequence, showing you how to feed in the paper and make the least amount of cuts to cut these rack cards out in the most least amount of time-consuming way. That's all for the software demonstration. I'll now be handing it over to Karen, who will walk through the video demonstration of the cutting process. Thank you so much for your time today, and let us know if you have any questions. You can email us at sales@lytrod.com or email me at zrivers@lytrod.com. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Zach. Yeah, let me go
awesome.
grab.
I can hear you great.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to go ahead and grab that job off the printer. And let me go ahead and get here in the video view. The first job that we did was to demonstrate cutting and stacking a variable data to keep your sort order. So we did just stacks of 5. Obviously, in a production environment, you probably would have a much larger stack size. So each set of 5 will have a the 1, 6, 11, 16, and then as we cut down our stacks. So let me go ahead and set the other ones to the side, and we'll go ahead and get started here. Let me close the job so that you can see the operator experience from the beginning. Before we get started, as Zach mentioned, the VRCut software comes with 2 components. The imposition tool that can be used by your graphic arts department. And in fact, that doesn't have to be in the same location as your cutter is. And in these days when a lot of folks are working from home, this is really nice to be able to have all the layouts, including all of the cuts generated on custom layouts, available in the cloud that can be picked up from any system, not necessarily in your office. What we're going to focus on in the second half is the hardware component. Of course, with this, all this magic is made from a VRCut Ready Triumph cutter. You can see the branding on the cutter. Let me see if we can kind of focus on that in the video. The Triumph cutters that were mentioned at the beginning of this video, the 4 light beam cutters that are sold by MBM. You'll notice, of course, the Triumph branding and then the VRCut Ready branding. That's an indication that that cutter has a special card inside that is communicating with the VRCut controller, the part that we're focusing on today. The controller is PC-based software. We just have a laptop. It's behind the cutter here. And we did install a large screen so that you could get an idea through the video. Typically, operators will just have a little tablet or laptop just sitting on top of the cutter. It just needs a USB connection to the Triumph cutter via a USB printer cable. That connection then establishes a communication between the software and the cutter. When you load the VRCut controller, this is the opening screen. This is going to allow the operator to be able to visualize the job, how to rotate the job, automatically, most importantly, driving that back gauge. There are quite a few options on the software itself to help us with laying the job out and also appropriately showing the artwork based on the particular cutter model that you have. I'm going to go ahead and we did go over the basic operation of the software in other sessions, if you want to jump over to LytrodLive, as Zach had mentioned. But today we're going to focus on this idea of workbench stacks. So as you can see in this video, there is an option, and I think you can probably see that, where it says combine workbench stacks on cutting table. If I click combine workbench stacks on cutting table, it will do just what it says. It will combine those stacks. That is what you would do if you have static artwork. Your stacks aren't going to get too large for the cutting blade because it is more efficient to put those stacks together. But in this case, we keep our stacks separate. So our other options, I did point some of these out in prior videos, but let me just say again, because of course this is one of the huge benefits, is the ability to be able to point to a cloud system. And so you'll see that our artwork is up in the cloud in a Dropbox, a common cloud program. Anyone is fine as long as both systems can see it. And then our VRC file, that's if you have a non-standard template like we will see in the second portion with those rat cards, then it automatically stores that information. Okay, then we are gonna, let's see, what other things are we gonna focus on here? We do have the speak directions on, and this will give you an audio. I know a lot of operators I talk to, they'll just put a Bluetooth in their ear. A lot of times, as you guys know, the print and finishing rooms are very loud. So you can just have an audio in your ear reminding you what step you're on. There's visualization as well. Okay, great. The other options we have set here is to automatically start the job based on a barcode scan. A barcode scanner is optional. They're very inexpensive. You can buy this simple barcode scanner on Amazon. We actually, one of our dealers showed us how to do this, is they just installed theirs with a little bracket here. And this is great because now it's just readily available to read the barcode on the page. You don't have to have a barcode reader. You can manually just click on open job. But of course, you want to have as least the number of steps as possible and least interfacing to the machine. So without having to manually pick the job, you can just simply scan the barcode. The other prompt is artwork. It will automatically open up a window where the output file from VRCut Impose is located, and it will show you all of the art for this particular layout. You can pick the one that was just created and actually visualize the art as well. Okay, well, let's go ahead now that we understand some of those options and do what how an operator experience would be. I did want you to note that we kind of make light of this because I guess we've been doing the variable data for 35 years here at LytrodLive, but some of the imposition features that quickly Zach pointed out, for example, what's called Z-sort, which is you can put variable data front and back. We will automatically sort that data, as you can see, in what's called a Z fashion, so that it matches card one to matches card one on the reverse side, what's called the Z sort. And then we have the cut through stack. As we demonstrated, we're going to be cutting down through a stack. Next week, we'll be showing sorting of this very same job on a slitter cutter creaser. Slitter cutter creasers actually have a linear sort because you're going to be dropping into the bin 1, 2, next page 3, 4. So you can take these same jobs, resort them depending on your finishing device. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and get started. Let me see if I step, I think, to this side here. And as you see, when we scan the barcode, it recognized that this is template 344, which is 12 by 18 and 5 by 7 postcards. We've done quite a few jobs with this very standard layout. I have sorted by date and time. You can see the 28th at 9:20 was when Zach created this job. We're here in California on Pacific time. And I click open.
Jog to square stack.
You can hear the verbal directions of jog to square stack. And now we will go ahead and place the paper into the cutter. We had a large stack. We'd use our jogger to line that up. And you'll notice that this is indicating step 1. Of course, difficult to see here, but my light beam is also on the little one that Zach pointed out in the PDF. I think if I get close to the camera, you can see it. See this little one here. And so that way we know, the operator knows they're on the appropriate cut.
Scraps to trash. Rotate 90 clockwise.
Just wanted to be quiet there so you could hear the audio. And step 2, before I rotate the page, I just want you to know, because we get a lot of questions on this, the back gauge was now pushed back to 17.5. You can see that here. Also matches, of course, the automatic driven through the USB port driving the back gauge. Because it had to pull so far back, we didn't want the operator to have to reach into the cutter, although perfectly safe, because of the light beams, that to reach into the cutter, it makes operators nervous. So we push the stack forward so the operator does not have to reach into the cutter, and then we pull back the back gauge so they can easily rotate the page. So all of that is automatically done. You don't even have to, the operator doesn't have to worry about it. Now we're on step 2.
Scraps to trash. Rotate 90 clockwise.
And step 3.
Ready to cut step 3. Scraps to trash.
At no time was the cutter programmed. This
Ready
is again
to cut step 4.
all automatically driven just based on that template.
Move stack to workbench.
And now we're going to go
Ready
ahead
to
and
cut
place
step
that
5.
stack on the workbench.
Scraps to trash. Move stacks from workbench.
And now we
Rotate
want to go
90
ahead
clockwise.
and rotate those stacks. And so you
Ready
can
to
see
cut
that the
step 6.
art is being kept separate, where we have stack 1 and 6 on the left side, and we have stacks 11 to 16 on the right. So we go ahead and place those in. Of course, we would jog that to get that straightened out. And now we're going to be able to keep our full sort as we finish cutting the job.
Scraps to trash. Ready to cut step 7. Finished parts to pallet. Ready to cut step 8. Scraps to trash. Finished parts to pallet.
And now
Job completed.
we have our 4 stacks. So we can take stack 1, place it onto stack 2, stack 3, stack 4. And as we look through those stacks, we can now see that we have a perfect sort order, of course, both front and back. As you see, the variable data automatically placed on the page along with the postnet barcode. So the value of not only being able to cut this job with really anyone who's familiar with using a PC, but the added value of being able to cut and sort variable data, as Zach mentioned, all provided with those the Triumph cutters. Great. Well, the second job we were going to take a look at was a custom job. And that custom job was probably one of the more popular jobs that we see, which is the, I'll just take a couple of these sheets off the printer, which is the rat cards. This isn't in our standard template library. a bit of a new feature for those who have used VRCut. This feature came out early in the year. Of course, if you're on licensing, you can simply download that, automatically download that update. Let us know if you have any questions about how to update your licensing, or if you're a LytrodLive partner, of course, you can update your NFR licenses to demonstrate the new custom templates. You use the Smart Layout Assistant, and the Smart Layout Assistant is a great tool to optimize the layout of the page, accommodate for the bleed edging, placing all of the artwork, and then, of course, the added benefit of having a unique barcode. That template has been stored to the cloud. So now when we start our job, and I'll go ahead and close the last job we were on, and to start our new job, and it automatically brings in template 904. So we bring in the 904, we open that template, and you can see that it will replace the static page with the artwork. The art, in this case, we match the art to the page, in that it's not a standard template. The numbers aren't auto-generated onto the background, so we just use our visual guide.
Scraps to trash. Rotate 90 clockwise.
Again, it pushed forward because the blade has to go back.
Ready to cut step 2. Scraps to trash. Rotate 90 clockwise. Ready to cut step 3. Scraps to trash. Rotate 90 clockwise.
Great. And now we'll just, I think you have the idea now on how to cut. These examples are found on the LytrodLive website. I'm not sure if Zach covered that.
Ready to cut step 5.
With the being able to go into our software library. But make sure that you check that out on the regular LytrodLive.com site, as you can download these templates. What's nice about this template is you get a little marketing piece on the VRCut software, talking about the two components, the imposition and the visual interface on these little cards. And let me just cut this next card, because it gives me
Scraps to
a little bit of advertising on next week's session, which is on the IntelliCut software. So go ahead and check out on LytrodLive. IntelliCut software drives and programs the AeroCut prime and velocity systems, and there are videos already posted on that software, introductory sessions, and then we'll be going into more advanced capabilities in next week's LytrodLive sessions. Next week, we also will feature again VRCut. Each week, we try to focus on different types of aspects of the software. If you have suggestions or particular questions, we're happy to take those into account. I think we have 2 more weeks of LytrodLive sessions. So thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you next Tuesday right after you vote, and we'll have our session. I believe it's on IntelliCut on Tuesday. Okay, you can register for those at LytrodLive.com. Thank you for your attendance. I'm going to open it for questions. You can just click off your microphone. We'll hear your questions. And you also can pose questions in the little question window. Any questions? Okay. I have a question. Actually, I have a question from last session. Folks ask, because I guess other imposition software, you're limited to the number of custom templates you can make. And I just wanted to answer that question from last session, is that VRCut and IntelliCut, you have unlimited number of templates you can create. So there is no limit on the software. As we pointed out, you also can merge unlimited number of data records. That was another question we've gotten. So I guess other software products have limitations. There is no limitation. The number of pages created, the number of templates created. Okay, thank you very much. We'll see you next